Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down. Of course, this guy right here is my little buddy, the Child, and if the Child is around and my Mando shirt is on, you know what the heck we're talking about. We ain't wasting any time, man. Why don't you pull up a chair, take a seat? We are getting ready to dive into the Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 2, aka Chapter 10, The Passenger. And I love this show. I said this last week. I think what Filoni and Favreau are doing as far as live-action Star Wars stuff goes, this show is producing some of the best content that we've gotten probably since the original movies. And I love this episode because this little guy is all over it. I know it's a spoiler-free review first. We got the spoiler review coming up a little bit after this. But it should be no shock that, the Child is around all the time. But he has a really wonderful episode here. There is literally no limit to the cuteness that this thing possesses. And what's even crazier is, the things he does in this episode aren't necessarily cute, but they are so cute. He's doing things. We have a new character this episode, and something attached to that character involves the Child, and you're kind of like, all right, I get it. But every time he does this thing, you laugh out loud, and it's like he's like a combination of gross and adorable. And it's like when you have a messy baby, that's what this episode is, man. There's some elements that are kind of like, ew, but he's so freaking adorable when he does it that no matter how gross the stuff is around him or what he's doing, it's just all so freaking adorable. And he almost speaks to a degree in this episode. And that's not a spoiler. He doesn't say anything. But there's seems to be developing some sort of legitimate communication between, the Mandalorian, Din Djarin, and the Child. They kind of have some legit back and forth with the Child just cooing a lot. But he is phenomenal this whole episode. This episode definitely highlights this little guy quite a bit, and he's wonderful. And as far as the story around him goes, you are literally on the edge of your seat. There are gasps. You were concerned a few times. Anytime something goes down with this little guy, you're just like, oh no, don't you, no. you get a couple of those types of moments in this episode, but mostly just a ton of adorable Child stuff. And don't let the adorable cuteness of the Child fool you. This episode is freaking badass, man. We get some more Mando fighting in this one, and I just continue to just love how smooth he is, right? You look at him in this armor and how clunky it looks like it can be, and yet then he's freaking moving and ducking and dodging, and anytime he's fighting, I'm so about it, man. And we get one of those. We get a pair of chase scenes this episode. One chase scene, you just sit there in awe. It's beautiful to watch, and you're just like, this, I love this. Give me more of this. And then there's a second chase scene in this episode that literally puts you on the edge of your seat in the most terrifying ways possible. Specifically for me, there's some things going on in this episode that just get at stuff that freaks me out, man, and that plays into the chase sequence, and you're just like, oh no, and it's just wonderful. And I love when you can see multiple versions of a thing in anything, whether it's The Mandalorian or a movie, where you can see, hey, look, here's this. Now I'm going to show you this over here, but it's going to be different. To be able to do, a set of chase scenes that kind of give you that thrilling excitement and that absolute horror. I love that stuff. And there are some horror-type elements to this episode where, like I said, for me, I was freaking out a little bit. But overall, I thought the episode was great. And it is another side journey to our main quest. No spoilers, but, after everything from episode 1 finishes up, Din's got to go back to Mos Eisley, and he's got to try to get back on track to finding the Mandalorian. And the way in which he needs to do this, he's got to kind of be a taxi cab driver. He's got to take someone from point A to point B. And if he can do that, when he gets to point B, there will be information there waiting for him about where the Mandalorian are. There's like a group of them, supposedly, that are somewhere within the near vicinity. So we get this kind of little side mission, and again, it just highlights all the things that make The Mandalorian great. There are some really wonderful Western moments in this, specifically at the opening. And the score. Ludwig Göransson. Oh, guys, so freaking good, man. They're specifically at the beginning, man, there's some hardcore Western vibes, specifically from the score and what you're seeing going on. And just anytime that stuff comes up, I love it. And overall, like, the action is great. We get to see, Din Djarin on display again, whether he's fighting or shooting. Like, his skill set is just so good, and this episode certainly highlights that. And we do get to see Amy Sedaris again, mild spoiler. She is a little... For me, she was a little bit too much in this episode. I like Amy Sedaris a lot, and I don't mind her character in really small doses, because she seems kind of wackier and kookier than the show is. And when you get her in a small dose, you get like a little bit of that, much like episode 1. I don't mind when she's in it. Here she got a little bit more time, and I was like, all right, let's move on. But the action is, like I said, is phenomenal. And I just like the way this show operates. How it can tell these small stories that kind of advance the overall story and just kind of highlight all sorts of things about the Star Wars universe. And when you're talking about the Star Wars universe, let's say there's a set of characters in this episode that definitely have a very specific Star Wars vibe to them. And there's kind of some fun to be had with their characters and how it kind of plays into the overarching story this time. But for me, this is another one of those, like, we haven't really accomplished much. We haven't really learned a lot more than what we knew prior to this episode, other than, like, Din Djarin is the most badass mofo in the galaxy. This little guy is the cutest thing you could ever possibly imagine. And no matter who their companion is, in the course of an episode, they find interesting ways to utilize those characters or give us things from those characters to make you go, oh, that's a nice ad. So that you kind of forget that, like, oh, we just want this kind of little side quest. And it was thrilling and it was fun, but it doesn't really have anything to do with the main quest. And that's the thing that the show has become really, really good at, man. It's good at doing these kind of, like, side-off stories and sets things up for whatever's coming next. It has a very realistic vibe to it, I think. Like, if you were really following the Mando, this feels how it would operate, and I know that's not going to work for everybody, but I do continue to love the way Favreau and Filoni are telling this story, and the way that they're able to bring in creatives that just enhance the vibe and the feel. We get Peyton Reed directing in this episode. I think he does a wonderful job. I mean, there are just beautiful shots through this whole episode. I mean, every episode seems there's just gorgeous cinematography. But, like I said, Reed really knows how to have fun in the chase sequences. We got that, obviously, in Ant-Man and the Wasp, when we had that awesome sequence through San Francisco. So when you get that first chase sequence here, you get the vibes and the fun that there can be in a chase sequence. But when he's asked to do the kind of more scary, tense sequence, nails all that stuff, too. So I love that we're able to bring in, like, these big name directors. And granted, Peyton Reed is a Marvel guy, so he's a Disney guy. And I love that Favreau and Filoni know this, right? Like, Marvel has established a wonderful collection of directors, Jon Favreau, of which was one. And I love that they're able to kind of go and cherry pick, like, hey, Taika, you want to come play over here? Hey, Peyton Reed, you want to come play over here? And you're just getting really, really high-quality filmmaking and content. And I just love that stuff. And like I said, what Favs is doing, man, as far as the writing goes, I just love the way they approach this thing. I was a big fan of Chapter 10, The Passenger, because it gave us so much excellent The Child stuff, and again, really, really solid stuff for The Mandalorian. So, big fan, even though we haven't really gone too far in the story 2 episodes into the season. Our quest to to find Jedi and, Mando's quest to find more Mandalorian before he can find the Jedi is trotting along kind of slow, but the stuff that we get to watch while we wait for whatever the main story is gonna kick in and how that plays into the overarching, epic that they're building. I just love all of it. So I'm a sucker for this show, if you didn't know. But that's it, man. That's all I gotta say on my non-spoiler side. Like I said, I really enjoyed the action in this one. I love the tense moments. I love the amount of child moments. And one of the other things I just continue to love about the show is its sound mixing. Sound mixing, again, is really, really good in this episode, specifically in that opening sequence. There's a lot of, from the western side, when the cowboy is moving across the country or across the plains, you hear the horse. Mandalorian doesn't have a horse. He's got a speeder. Or he's got his wagon, which is the Razor Crest. But when he's on the speeder in that opening sequence, you get this wonderful gnat sound where it's like we hear the speeder and something else is going on, so we're hearing that, and then we're going back and forth. And the use of gnat sound and where to kick it in and how to play with it was just another wonderful thing that I loved about this episode. So, top to bottom, big fan of The Passenger. The question is, are you, man? It is 4:30 in the morning on the East Coast. I get up real early to watch this. So you guys are probably still sleeping. If you're on the West Coast, maybe you've checked it out. But when you're getting to this video, if you have watched The Mandalorian Chapter 10, The Passenger, what'd you think, man? What was working? Did you like the fun? Did you like the action? Did you like the drama or the tense, scary horror elements that were kind of mixed into this one? Did you love all the child stuff, everything we had going on with Din Djarin? Anything you're thinking, good, bad, indifferent, and spoiler-free on Chapter 10, The Passenger, goes down below in the comments section. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the old C-Man anytime we talking The Mandalorian, or TV, or movies, or trailers. I got a couple trailers hopefully to look at later on in the day, stuff that came out the last couple days. Hopefully we'll get to those. But if you want to be here for all that stuff, man, you want to show a little love, support to the old C-Man, come join the C-Maniacs, man. C-Maniac Nation wants you, and the only way that you can get to C-Maniac Nation, boom, hit that subscribe button over there, man. Hit that little bell if you want those alerts. And until next time, the C-Man's Cinema. Sit down. I've been the C-Man. This has been The Child, and I am signing off. Peace. You guys are still here? You must be looking for some more content. Well, don't worry. C-Man's got you covered, man. You got videos like this guy and this guy. And if you haven't yet, and you want to come check out all the C-Man goodies, join the Cinema Sit-Down squad, man. Hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the little bell down below that, too, so you can get alerts every time I make new videos.